Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Let's join them at the coffee shop. Hello, Glenn.
Hey, Mikey, how you doing this morning? You know what? This angel just came in and brought me a fresh, large, hot original coffee black.
It is my new fuel. That's
fuels us up for another 18 minutes, right?
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Yeah. So, Cary, welcome.
Cary, great to have you here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm so super excited. I'm going to throw a commercial out here right to kick us off. So you're going to see Cary's name a couple times in the podcast library. You're going to see a notation about her story, which is what you're going to hear in this segment. But come back when we talk a little bit more. When you see Cary's name in the second podcast entry, come back because I'm super excited to have her here because, for me, I came in and she's probably going to smile at me right now or frown, but I was so broken. I was like, I literally couldn't put my left foot in front of my right foot. And I came into these rooms so afraid and so unloved. And it was one of my first few meetings I ever walked into. And first of all, she smiled at me, and I don't know, it was a smile of unconditional love. Then she opened her mouth to share some experience, strength, and hope in that room, and it just hit me right at my core. And she'll go down in my journey as just one of my fundamental people that love me unconditionally when I honestly could not love myself. So thanks, Cary, and thanks for being here.
That's well put, Mikey.
Such a nice thing to say. Now my head is too big.
Yeah, well, welcome to the club.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So on these bonus drops, we love having folks in, Cary. It's great. I've known you for several years now, and really looking forward to you sharing your story of experience, strength, and hope with folks out there on the sober path to recovery. So with that, we'll turn it over to you and let you share your story, and we'll chime in as I'm sure we always do.
Well, great. Well, first of all, thanks you guys so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. My first time in a studio like
really
this.
Cool,
I'm
isn't
feeling
it?
rather groovy. Yeah.
Really cool. Thanks, Brian.
Wait, seriously, you just used the word groovy. I love you even more today than I did yesterday. Groovy.
Yeah. So, I think I'm one of those people who has probably been an alcoholic my whole life. I was that person that started drinking at 13 that I remember thinking, when I was working on my sober journey and first stopped drinking, I was surprised at how many other people, for some reason, 13 is like the magic number that a lot of people started their drinking. I don't know what it is about being in like 8th grade that's when you would start. But and I quickly learned that I liked the way it felt. I've been thinking about this. I had that experience where I got drunk right away and felt horrible the next day and embarrassed myself and went right back for more. And I was really not that person who ever said, oh, that was awful, I'm never going to drink again. There's some stories in the big book about people who, who their first drink was a bad experience, but overall they liked the way it felt. So I'm that person. I didn't quit until I was over 50 years old, so there was a lot of drinking that went on in between. I had a career. I got married. I had 4 children, raised 4 children, and it just kind of, I guess, progressively got worse. Although if I look back on it, it was bad from the start. And it was bad when I was 13. It was bad in my 20s. It was bad in college. But finally, toward the end, you know, some things started happening that were really unpleasant and caused me to realize that I couldn't keep on with it. Namely, I was a terrible driver when I drank, and I got a DUI, and then 6 months later, after going through a whole bunch of you know, court-ordered stuff, I got another DUI. And I wasn't.
They don't like that, do they?
No, they don't like it when you get your second one. No, the first one they'll work with you. You know, they'll work with you and they'll put you on probation and let you off oftentimes. But that second one, yeah, and the judge is really kind of mean about it. You know, as you're in the courtroom, they're saying we don't ever want to see you back in here, and you know they're brutal. And then you know I stayed in denial, and my marriage was breaking up, and you know there just was a whole bunch of other things going on. But anyway, long story short, what got me to quit drinking was I talked to an attorney who asked me if I was an alcoholic, and I very clearly said, "Oh no, not at all." And it was an interesting conversation because she handled it very professionally and just said, "Okay, well that's great. Call me, you know, actually what she said to me was, whether or not you're an alcoholic or not, you need to stop drinking." And so she didn't, you know, she handled it like a pro and let me be the person who decided that I was gonna quit drinking, and because I was never gonna get my driver's license back after what I had done. So
really, after 2 DUIs, you can't get your driver's license back?
Well, yeah, I had 2 DUIs, and then I had one of those Bade machines in my car, and I would drink so much the night before that in the morning it was hard to get my car started.
They don't like that either.
Yeah, they don't like that. I mean, you know, and you're trying to rationalize, well, it was last night, but there's still it's still
issue.
Detecting. Yeah.
Wow.
So
that means you had a really strong night the night before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I like to drink a big jug of wine at night. So anyway, so that, yeah, you're right. Thanks for clarifying that, Glenn, because that second DUI maybe, but then once you start being unable to start your car with that device in your car, that's not good. So anyway, and so then that's when I kind of walked myself into a detox, and I spent a couple of days in a detox, and then came home and started, you know, joining the rooms, as you guys say, and made that my program and my new way of life.
Didn't you have other options? I mean, I'm listening to your story, and you know, so you're in detox, and you're like, okay, well, I'm not an alcoholic, you know, but like the doctor said, you know, I'll come back, or the lawyer, or whatever. You know, I should stop drinking. You know, was AA your only choice? How did you find out about AA? Did you try other things before coming into the program, into the rooms, or you just knew AA was out there and you were just going after a...
Yeah, you know, well, the courts like you to go through their court-ordered stuff, which is, you know, a class or you know, an impact panel or those sorts of things. But attorneys do tell you that AA is out there.
Okay.
And I knew enough about AA to know that it was a place that I wanted to be.
Okay.
You know, and honestly, you know, I had been to one meeting, I think after the first DUI. You know, I don't even really count that because I just sort of walked in. It was uncomfortable. I bolted as soon as I left. Right. I wasn't ready.
Right.
I wasn't ready at all.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
So when you mentioned detox, was that a medical detox, or was that one of those ones with the vertical bars?
No, it was just a medical detox.
Medical detox?
Yeah, it was a local place. I knew of it, and it was a it was a 3-day experience, and many of the people who were at the detox then went off to a rehab. I guess because of the way that I drank, which was I drank every night starting between 4 and 7, but I detoxed every single morning. I detoxed every day. Yeah.
It's so funny how my mind works. I'm sitting there saying, why would you wait till 7 o'clock at night to drink?
Well, I had 4 kids and a full-time job, and I was, so I had to get things done before I could get to my.
You at least had to look like you had your shit together.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, it seems like, and I just, I jot down notes, while you're sharing. It just seems like, from 13 through 50, you had a life of just managing and juggling your drinking.
Yep. Yep.
Very familiar.
Yep.
So where did it at 50 besides the DUI? Were there any other, busting at the seams? Were there any other issues that were resulting from drinking, or was it just you had things managed pretty well until the second DUI?
Well, that's interesting because I I thought that I had things managed pretty well, and I thought I had my shit together, as you would say, But in hindsight, and once I started, working the steps and focusing on myself, is when I realized it was kind of a, shit show. So in hindsight, I realize, how much what I was doing was affecting other people, namely my family and my 4 what are now adult children. But I was getting up and going to work, and I had a pretty good career until the very, very end. I really did have a good thing going, and I was juggling it. I didn't feel very well most of the time.
But you were plowing through.
I was plowing through it, but in hindsight, I think about what was going on at night with my children, and I wasn't there for them when I should have been. I came home and opened up the bottle of wine and started in pretty much right away while I was doing parenting at night.
So I can remember you coming into the rooms. I remember you as being the one that needed the rides. And I always remember, because I couldn't give you a ride, I had other commitments, and I had to, rush out right after the meeting, and but it was always, hey, can somebody give Cary a ride? So what happened when you entered the rooms? You still go to the rooms, so kind of what was that? Let's change gears, I guess, to the sober gym. What did you do in AA or outside of AA to help support your sobriety?
Oh, good question. So as far as the rides, I will tell you that I knew I needed to get to those meetings. I did need to sign the piece of paper for the
paper signer.
The paper signer for the Secretary of State. They like that paper signed. And, I made AA like it was a job for me. And I went to meetings every single day for a period of time. I don't remember exactly how long, maybe 6 months. I'm really not sure. And I kind of wanted to be an overachiever, as I'm probably like to be an overachiever. A lot of things at that point, I was like, I'm going to do AA the best I can do. And, also the way I describe myself as far as, just life is that I'm pretty scrappy. And so I really wasn't afraid of asking people for rides. I wasn't that person that timidly went up to somebody. I figured out where people lived, and I mentally made notes of who might be convenient for
driving
me.
By, right?
Yeah. And I had, and so that part of my sobriety, that first 6 months, that first year, and honestly, I can't even remember now, and it's surprising to think about. I can't remember now how long it was before I actually got my driver's license back. I think it might have been 2 years, maybe more. I literally don't remember, which is ironic because during that time, every single day.
You were counting every day. Sure.
All I could think about was my stupid driver's license.
I remember that, and I remember you were going over quite a number of hurdles.
Yeah. Well, right. And yes, I had a lot going on, and I think about that now and what, but I looked at, and I know you've had a couple of episodes lately on the promises. I felt very strongly that very quickly the promises started coming true for me. Right when I quit drinking, I was, unemployed. Being employed is pretty hard when you're, I'm a salesperson, and being a salesperson without a car is close to impossible. So, I was unemployed, and I was in a relationship that I needed to get out of, a second relationship that I needed to get out of. I needed to find myself an apartment. I had a lot of things going on that when I look back on that, I'm like, whoa, that was crazy. But for some reason, I just knew what I needed to do, and I knew that I needed to stay focused on the prize, which at that point was to get my driver's license back.
That's impressive and promising, to use the word. It's, and then I came into the picture after you got your license back, and then you were just kind of there to share that same journey with others and say, look, you can get through some bad times, and not only the license, but like you said, you had to get your life in order, and your apartment and your job and everything else, and you did all that sober. You did all that sober.
Yeah, and we don't focus a lot on length of time of sobriety, but Cary, 5 years or so, don't you? 5.5 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I look back on those days as just keeping my nose down and trying to do the next right thing, and it was a crazy time, and I know that during those first 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and in fact my sponsor would tell stories about, like, early in my sobriety, like when I was 2 years. And I'd want to just claw her eyes out and say to her, I'm just clawing for every 30-day coin, 30, 60, 90, and when I found it crazy that people were talking about their early sobriety of year 2, and here I am. In retrospect, I'm probably still early in sobriety because I'm going to live for a while longer, I hope, right?
I know, right?
At some point, 5 years is going to probably be early in sobriety, but boy, when you're just going through those first few months, it's crazy.
So I got to ask you, you made the statement, and I jotted it down. I love it. This will be my takeaway for the day. I made AA like it was a job for me. You're now 5+ years into this. Is it a part-time job? Is it a full-time job?
Great question.
How's your relationship with AA these days?
Well, COVID took a toll.
Sure.
For me, and I'm definitely connected through Zoom. I was excited when Zoom happened. You guys are the two that helped me get started with Zoom.
Logging on.
Yeah. And I love Zoom now. So Zoom's actually made me a little lazy because I can get into a meeting pretty easily, and without driving to the room. I'm also, so I don't go every day. I probably do 3 to 4 meetings a week and they're on Zoom. So they're great. It's not quite the same, but I've watched a lot of people who got started on Zoom who are still in the room. So,
that's right. And I'll confess that Cary does possess a peach-colored robe.
Very funny.
That's when we know
awesome.
She's up early in the morning. She's
awesome.
like, "Hello, here I am."
There you go.
That's the value. That's the value of AA. There's very little judgment.
That's right.
Come as you are.
That's right.
Yeah.
You
can rarely say anything that people frown at. It's wonderful.
So these promises have come true for you. I love that as well, because I remember coming in and I didn't have something to shoot for, and I love how Glenn says the story. The promises are read at least in our meetings here, are read at the end of every meeting, and I didn't pay a lot of heed to them early on, but over time, I thought, wow. And then people would be talking, they'd be sharing during their segment and telling me how promises come true if you work for them is how it ends up. And
yeah, so I'll jump in. So, Cary, I've certainly, walked a lot of steps with you. 5.5 years I was there when you came in, and some things that I remember, from the Hope standpoint. I can remember the first time you posted a picture of your apartment and the porch and the flowers, and I just thought, that's one of the cutest things I've ever seen. Because I knew the distance. I knew the journey that it took to get to that spot. I'm thinking, man, what a great, rewarding place to sit, right? And, as I look at my own, shit of a story, I have situations like that in my life where I'm like, wow, this is a noticeable point. And I remember that picture like it was yesterday. Secondly, I love, I'm connected with you on Facebook, and I just love seeing the pictures of you living life with your kids. And I've met some of them, and man, just what a powerful force, or what's the female version of a patriarch? Matriarch? A matriarch, right? Just how involved you are, and it's just, that's something that I really, from a promises perspective, that I wanted, right? And I'm starting to get some of that, and it's just really cool to see you, and you're back working hard again, and just a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up.
You're a date and a half decent guy, and
there you go. When you talk about my children, that absolutely is, the best part of the promises, for sure. And I've got 4 children, my 2 boys and 2 girls. They're men now. And my 2 guys are both engaged to be married to wonderful, wonderful young women. And, I don't think either one of them, I'm pretty sure neither one of them has ever seen me drink. So that's pretty cool. And then I know, at some point with a family, the next generation will start, God willing, and I'll be a grandmother of people who never saw me drink. So there are times in my life that I wish, or I think, or maybe I even regret that I didn't quit earlier. Don't we all? But I do try to look at those things and realize that I have a whole nother life to live, sober, and and with hopefully this next generation and the expanding family and all that. So yeah, they are my pride and joy, for sure.
What's the one piece of advice you would give them, or anybody outside your family, on a way to better living? What's the one piece of advice you would give somebody to further their path and
Well, it's interesting because I jumped onto Glenn's Ferris wheel analogy very quickly and became a Ferris wheel junkie with
it's amazing. Once you get on that Ferris wheel, every time you turn around, you see a Ferris wheel somewhere. In fact, I texted you a picture of one yesterday. Axl Rose and Guns N' Roses is doing this live show. There's a big monster Ferris wheel in the background. I just took a snapshot of it, sent it to Cary.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. So that it goes up, it goes down. There's the trash, there's the good view. But I also have a mantra, which is about a rearview mirror, and I tell this to my children on a regular basis, is that no matter how bad anything seems that is happening right now, that it will end up in the rearview mirror. Nice. And that goes for, not having your driver's license, moving up, having a bad day at work, breaking up with a boyfriend, whatever the case is. ironically or reality ends up in the rearview mirror. And
love it.
And I try to share that with them when they're, concerned about something. And I'm a good poster child of that. It all ended, and we made it through. Yeah. Whatever it was.
I love it. Cary, I can't thank you enough for being here today, and I can't wait to talk to you again. You're going to come back for another coffee with us?
I'd be happy to.
Nice. Thank you, Cary.
Yeah, thanks so much, Cary. You have a great day. See you, Glenn.
So
all right, bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.